All I can say is that the fake news just doesn't get it, do they?
So, Virginia, it's looking very good for Mr. Youngkin down there. He's slightly ahead in the polls. Can't totally trust these polls, of course. Anything can happen, but it's looking good because people are getting a real good look at Terry McAuliffe. And they're wondering, how did we elect this guy even once to be the governor of this state? It looks like to me he went to the Joe Biden School of Anger Management. Take a look at this.
July 20th, you accepted an endorsement from the New Virginia majority. They are a large defund the police organization who want to abolish prisons and ICE. You said that you were proud to accept their endorsement.
Well, first of all, Sheriff, I'm proud to accept any endorsements. I get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I can't. Groups that endorse me, I don't know everything they do. If I ever support defund the police, are you out of your mind? I've invested in law enforcement. I just went through 25 minutes of telling you what I do for the police. Not defunded, I funded them.
So you'll never support defunding?
I won't even dignify that with an answer. If my track record of 4 years as governor, not enough for you to understand how I feel on law enforcement, I will not dignify that with an answer.
Unbelievable. I don't believe an answer to either one of those questions.
Well, I don't care what you believe. I got a track record. And I'm proud of that track record.
Nasty, wagging the finger. That's vintage Joe Biden, the indignation at a very basic, straightforward political question, and he gets offended and he doesn't answer it when a lot of Democrats actually support defunding the police. The sheriff is right to not believe this guy. All kinds of weird things are happening in Virginia. Mr. Youngkin, the Republican, had an event, and then this crew showed up. Remember this late last week? Looks kind of like those guys with the tiki torches in Charlottesville the night before the really bad riot. Guess what? That's the whole intent. They want you to think that racists support Youngkin. I don't like racists. Racists are bad, so I will vote for McCullough. That's how dumb they think people are. This is all a stupid stunt. It's unclear, by the way, who's actually responsible, but they're trying to make the other guy look like a racist, and when you try to do that, and the guy's not a racist, it's pretty apparent to me that the Democrats are losing, but we will see. That brings us to January 6th. Again, this is the date they want to milk so bad. The commission, they're still issuing subpoenas, not the commission, but the committee. Remember, racism, they still think the left really works for them as an issue.
I obviously am very concerned about the rise of extremism and extremism related to white supremacy.
The FBI has warned repeatedly that domestic terrorism fueled by white supremacy is the #1 threat to the United States right now.
White supremacy is the biggest bucket of concern when it comes to domestic terrorism.
Terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today.
So this is a Democrat political fantasy about white supremacy, that it is strong and it is out there. It's not. It's not. And as they spend all of their brain power thinking about white supremacy, there are actual hate crimes happening that they won't look at and they won't call attention to, Democrats and the media, because they don't like, well, it makes them uncomfortable. Take a look at this. It actually happened in New York this weekend. Wow. That would be a firebombing at a Brooklyn store. And the guy's not done, but fortunately, the person behind is going to step in. Watch. As a firebombing that took place in New York City. Firebombing, known to be a tactic that some extremists back in the 60s liked to use. It's actually happening in New York, but the race of the people involved, it's not what the mainstream media want to talk about or deal with. It's not what politicians want to deal with. They love it when they can pretend white supremacy is responsible for any crime of the moment. Remember a few months ago, the spa killings in Atlanta? Kamala Harris and Joe Biden ran down there to claim it was white supremacy, even when law enforcement, the suspect, witnesses, the victims themselves, all of it said this wasn't white supremacy. But the left, they can't stop talking about it. Take a look at this.
Americans are at each other's throats, spun up by the sick stuff they see on social media. Every day, some random hyperlocal story about a migrant from Haiti or a refugee from Afghanistan is blown out of proportion into some doomsday international story about the death of white America's way of life.
White America's way of life. There is no white America way of life. There's an American way of life. The left, they just love to do this. And they paint with such a broad brush. It is so insulting, quite frankly, to people on the other side of the political spectrum who are not white but not liberal. This is one of the most beautiful moments I've seen in my life, quite frankly. It was at the 2020 Republican convention. They're all saying the Pledge of Allegiance and about to take the oath of office, oath of citizenship. Those people were all from all over the world. And there's Donald Trump standing proudly with them. I just thought that was great. America is not a race. It is, as Joe Biden said, an idea, right? Value system. I don't think he believes in it anymore, but we do. And people of all races, all colors, still see hope in this country. So the media, they love playing up white supremacy. They also really love Pete Buttigieg, our Secretary of Transportation. He was on every single morning show yesterday. He is the Secretary of Transportation, yet he seems to be not at all interested in transportation.
What I can tell you is that what's in the framework is utterly transformational and historic. Finally getting preschool for every kid in this country, making childcare affordable for every family in this country. The biggest action we've done on climate ever in U.S. history. It's barely within our grasp now. To be able to beat the worst effects of climate change, that means immediate action, and that's part of what's in this package. But also families are ready.
And it goes on like this, and it goes on like this, and on like this. First of all, I have to jump ahead and tell you why Pete Buttigieg is Secretary of the Treasury, okay? It's because of his sexual orientation. They started writing about it back when he was a candidate, and they could not stop writing about it. Political reporters just love this. They found it very, very interesting. And now he's been rewarded with a cabinet spot, the first openly gay cabinet member ever. That's also fake news, by the way. Donald Trump made Rick Grinnell his Director of National Intelligence. That was a cabinet-level post. And Rick Grinnell, who I actually consider a friend, happens to be gay. And Donald Trump chose not to make a big deal out of it. Neither did Rick Grinnell. But he happens to be the first openly such and such. But Pete is still a fake news favorite.
Inquiring minds want to know your twin children, Penelope and Gus, are they going out tonight for Halloween? And if so, how will they be dressed?
So Chasten, my husband, found costumes.
So even if you can't get the bill through the house, Gus and Penelope will be infrastructure.
We're going to get both, Chris.
And how are you dealing with the lack of sleep?
Sleep is a distant memory, but we're adjusting.
All right, that's cute, I guess. How does Chris Wallace even know or care to know the name of that guy's twins, Penelope and Gus, for whom he took 3 months off as Secretary of the Transportation, 3 months after taking most of last year off? I'm surprised that didn't come up, but this is the man of the moment when Joe Biden and the rest of the administration is gone. But at least on the Stephanopoulos show, after you have Buttigieg on, they make sure to bring on a Republican to, for the other side.
Thanks for your time this morning.
Great being with you. Thank you.
Now to Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger, one of only 10 GOP members who voted to impeach Donald Trump, one of only 2 serving on the January 6th committee. And Congressman Kinzinger joins us now. Thank you for joining us this morning, Congressman. What is that broader fight? How are you going to take it on?
Bye-bye, Adam. I mean, this is their idea of a Republican, okay? One who votes to impeach Donald Trump. This is not a fair fight down there in the swamp, but it's actually pretty funny. It's actually pretty funny. All right, I want to talk about Colin Kaepernick for a little while. Did you see the video that came out? First, you know, Colin, the guy who liked to kneel for the national anthem, he's basically, yes, I'll say it again, he's a racist crybaby, not very good on the football field. He's getting all kinds of deals, book deals, the sneaker company, and Netflix. Netflix can't get enough of him. Take a look at this. Very, very bizarre observations from Mr. Kaepernick.
Coaches will tell you they're looking for warriors, killers, beasts. They say they want you to be an animal out there. And you want to give them that. Let me tell you something. What they don't want you to understand is what's being established is a power dynamic.
How about that look, huh? How about that look? Possibly the worst acting ever. Keep going, Colin.
Before they put you on the field, teams poke, prod, and examine you, searching for any defect that might affect your performance. No boundary respected, no dignity left intact.
Sounds like the military. No big deal. Keep going.
Shape there. Look at this. Mr. Farber, I got your bid. 30, James, 30 to you. 100. So, next one coming up, best one we got. 500. 600. Right here. Look at this here. Come on, who wants this?
You see what's happening here, of course. You know, I'm thankful that I grew up with the great miniseries and book, Roots by Alex Haley. Now today's next generation, they have to look at Colin Kaepernick. I mean, to learn these twisted lessons. Twisted from his mouth. Hey, the NFL, they're not slave drivers. I'm not a big football fan, but Colin Kaepernick made tens of millions of dollars from this organization. And oh, by the way, it's not just black talented players who want to be NFL players. White people want to be NFL players as well. And wasn't it sad the way that assistant coach, who knows what his name is, probably just some actor, but he's white, and just his presence is supposed to be a negative thing. They're equating that man to a slave driver. It is hideously, hideously offensive. But for the most part, I laugh at this thing because he is a terrible, terrible actor. Oh, and somebody else made fun of it, and it was really good. The Babylon Bee. Kaepernick's sad that no slave owner will enslave him no matter how many times he tries out to be a slave. Remember, he tried many times to get back into football after the whole kneeling thing. All right, very lost person, in my opinion. Here's this.
Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter!
In St. Louis, the mayor of that city, Tashora Jones, had just wrapped up a roundtable on gun violence, and she was speaking with the media when this happened.
Is that, oh, isn't that wonderful?
Somebody started shooting a couple of blocks away, just as she was speaking up about what she had done, the discussion about combating gun violence. I applaud her, by the way, Tashora Jones. Yeah, that was pretty wild. This is what else she said.
I hear gunshots in my neighborhood every night. My son and I fall asleep to the lullaby of gunshots in the distance every night because I'm the first mayor in over 20 years to be born, raised, and still live in North St. Louis. So we live in a neighborhood that, you know, we hear it more often than not. And it's unfortunate, you know, yes, I heard it, but I didn't flinch because, you know, I guess it's a part of my life now.
It doesn't have to be that way. It looks like she's working hard and taking proactive steps, but too few are, and looking to silly phantoms like white supremacy and other non-factors like that. At least she seems to be confronting the real issues, and we applaud her for that.
Hi, Rob Carson here. If you love watching Newsmax, you're really going to love listening to our new podcast. It's called the Newsmax Daily. I host it, and I give you the best briefing of the big news of the day, top newsmaker interviews, and even, yes, a few laughs. I know it's hard to believe. So if you're driving, walking, exercising, just about anywhere, you can connect with the Newsmax Daily with me, Rob Carson. Find our podcast online or go to iPhone, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, and more, and start listening today.